So have you had a good week? I don't know. Was that good enough? Have you had a good week? That's my kind of noise. Did you learn a lot? Did you make some new friends this week? Fantastic. But are you ready to go home and inspire your districts in 1920? Fabulous. Doesn't it feel like you only just got here? You're good at answering questions. This past year has gone by for me in the blink of an eye. The time between standing on this stage at the International Assembly 1 year ago and standing here today, where did the time go? But you know something? Looking out at all of you and feeling the inspiration, it's like I never left. The Rotary year is more than half done. The Hamburg Convention is just 5 months away. And then that's it. It's over. For me, it ends. I go home and sleep. That was my wife clapping. But for me, it ends, and for you, it begins. And I want to tell you right now that the 2019-20 year isn't going to last any longer than the 2018-2019 year. Okay, you have one extra day. But it's going to still go by just as fast. And before you know it, you'll be back home from the Honolulu Convention, and I'd do it, but I can't. June 30th will come and it will go, and then you'll wake up the next morning to your first day as PDGs. Now, please tell me that wasn't your ultimate goal. Wow. I want all of you to think now about where you want to be at that moment in time. Will your districts be stronger than they are now? I like the answers. With more members in more active clubs? Yes. Involved in more meaningful and more sustainable service? Yes. Service that is going to have an impact, not just for years, but for generations. Yes. Will you have more Rotaractors? And the key question, will you have a more significant transition from Rotaract to Rotary? My job is done. I know you can do that. You can all do that. It's not just pie in the sky. It's the opportunity. It's the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that every one of you has. Right now, you've heard and learned so much this week about what's going to be ahead for all of you. The goals we have, the challenges that we need to rise to. We've got a new strategic plan. We're looking at new membership models, new foundation goals, and the end of our work to eradicate polio. All of it with one goal, building a better world. We are all, yeah, okay. We are all here today, whether we're Rotarians or Rotaractors or family or staff, because we believe, each and every one of us believe, that Rotary is the path for making a meaningful difference in the world. And we want that difference to last. We want something to leave behind that says, I was here. And my life, my work, the good that I did, it mattered. It's a natural feeling. But sometimes when we get into Rotary office, what we do with that feeling is kind of the Rotary equivalent of graffiti. We want to put our name on something. We want to say, under my year of leadership, this many new clubs were chartered. This project was conceived and completed. We want to be able to point to something concrete and say, I did that. I was here, and I left good behind me. But that impulse, as natural as it is only one piece of the puzzle. If you really want your work to last, if you really want to do something to show that you were here and your life mattered, forget about yourself. Forget about your ego and your personal agenda. And by the way, we should stop using the word I. It is us that gets the job done, and so we use the word we. And focus on the work, and not the work you could show off, not the work that's easy, but the hard work that is really going to matter, the work that is needed now if anything we have accomplished is ever going to last. The work to make our clubs, our organization, and our world sustainable for the long term. Now, that word sustainability can mean many things. But what does it mean in Rotary? It can mean concrete action to reverse the environmental degradation of the globe. Without a doubt, this affects all of us. Something about microphones do to your mouth. But without a doubt, this affects all of us. And I can tell you, living in the Bahamas, that even the slightest rise in the sea level will have a devastating impact. And don't just take my word for it. The World Bank estimates that if nothing changes, we're going to see hundreds of millions, even billions of people leaving their homes because of climate change within decades. But in Rotary, sustainability means more than preserving our planet for future generations. It means taking responsibility for our future, as well as being stewards of our present. Every district governor faces a simple choice. Should I manage the status quo and pursue an agenda only relevant for my 1 year in office? Or should I try and leave my district stronger than when I started? Can I build on the work of my predecessor and give my successor the momentum of progress? And here I think the words of Paul Harris, Rotary's founder, will help to guide your choice. Now, Paul was a keen gardener and enjoyed planting trees on his many Rotary travels across the globe. With each tree he planted, at home and abroad, he hoped that it would stand for generations. But he also thought of each planting as an experiment, bringing something new into the world without knowing exactly how it would turn out. And in his words, and I quote, "This is an experimental age in a changing world, and all things that are worthwhile and progressive are the cumulative effects of preceding successes and failures," end of quote. Paul Harris wrote those words in 1936, and yet 8 decades later, they still ring true. Think of your districts as dynamic, evolving ecosystems, which we must look after. To create positive change, each one of you will need to review what is happening in your ecosystem and identify the trees that are growing well and nourish that growth. Don't be afraid to experiment when planting the seeds of future growth. At last year's assembly, we asked the current district governors to create a leadership development plan to help grow the personal skills that we have in all our Rotary and Rotaract clubs, and to encourage that long-term approach and build those skills. We have worked closely with the Secretariat to provide you with so many useful tools. Take a look at those and see which ones are the ones that can help you to do what needs to be done. We've been working with Toastmasters International to bring their expertise in public speaking and leadership training into the Rotary experience, starting with making Rotary-branded leadership training materials available for Rotaract clubs first. And then Rotary clubs. We won't forget Rotary clubs, okay? We have encouraged clubs to use social media to promote their service activities and show how they are people of action. We placed a strong emphasis on the need for proactive and positive change in our clubs. Now, this is a discussion we need to have because our membership numbers have been stagnant for much too long. Would you agree with that? Yeah. You are the class that's going to reverse that trend. Also, our member demographics are skewed heavily toward an older male demographic. Now, don't get me wrong. Members of all ages offer tremendous value to Rotary, so don't throw me out. Recent retirees have a wealth of experience to apply to service projects and to mentor other members. But we need our young professionals with whom they can share all of that expertise. If we don't attract a critical mass of younger members, we will suffer the same fate as countries with an aging demographic and low growth rates. In other words, negative growth. So I urge you to find the people, men and women, who have their fingers on the pulse of the community. Find the young leaders who are already taking action to create lasting change. And find a way to bring them into Rotary. Inspire them to see that their future impact will only be greater as a part of Rotary. I ask you to offer them the responsibilities to keep them engaged and the opportunities to grow into our future leaders. We must help clubs provide a value to each and every one of our members. If our members feel there's a value there, they're not going to leave us. Our problem isn't bringing them in, it's keeping them. Give them value so they stay with us for the long term. By doing that, it will bring us more than diversity for diversity's sake. We know that studies have shown that more diverse teams are also smarter teams. I hope that doesn't mean that as we bring women in, we're going to be smarter. That means we weren't smart before. Okay. But that is a statistic that we need to be aware of. We need that diversity. Hearing diverse perspectives challenges us and sharpens our performance. It makes us question some basic assumptions. It can make us more innovative. And there are inspiring examples of action across multiple generations out there in the Rotary world, which is bringing more diversity to our organization. Now, a few months ago, I had the privilege of meeting a young man named Paul Mushaho in Nairobi at Rotary Day at the United Nations. Paul is a refugee, having fled to Uganda from the violence in his native Democratic Republic of Congo 2 years ago. In 2016, then Rotary President-elect Sam Awori recognized Paul's potential at a competition in 2016. This contest brought together young residents in Uganda who proposed innovations that could improve lives. And Sam thought the young entrepreneurs could amplify their impact through Rotary. So with his encouragement, the Rotary Club of Kiwatule in Kampala and the Rotary Club of Roseville, Minnesota, worked together to start a Rotaract Club. And they identified Paul Mushaho as the potential new club president. And Paul gladly seized this opportunity with both hands. And in his words, and I quote, "Our refugee community realized our local challenges needed local solutions and that we can solve them ourselves." Now, if a Rotaract Club can thrive in a refugee camp, imagine how many new clubs can spring up in your communities in response to today's challenges. Every Rotary Club should develop a Rotaract Club partner. Now, I'm going to repeat that. Every Rotary Club should develop a Rotaract Club partner. We must continue to support our Rotaractors and develop strong mentoring programs within our clubs. So I ask each of you to ensure that your Rotarians work closely with Rotaractors, individually and collectively, to mentor them and to help them develop professional and leadership skills. And to realize this is a two-way street. They can act as mentors to us in the way of a rapidly changing world. How many of us need our grandchildren to help us use our telephone? But our Rotaractors are our partners. They could take that to a whole nother level where they can make sure that we are on social media on a regular basis, showing us as people of action. It is that kind of potential that we need to unleash. And I believe we've begun to unleash the Rotaractors on the Rotary world already. Am I right? Once that is unleashed, we can only develop by making sure that our clubs are attractive and relevant to new generations. When thinking about the meaning of sustainability and change in Rotary, my mind is drawn to one photograph. Now, I hope most of you recognize this photo because it was on the front cover of the Rotarian magazine. How many of you saw it? Okay, those who don't raise your hands, go home and read the Rotarian magazine. It's a really good magazine. This was on the cover of the July issue, and every year the Rotarian carries a profile of the incoming RI president. And despite my protests, a photographer from the magazine came to my club in the Bahamas to take plenty of pictures of the Rassin family. They also met with plenty of my friends in my Rotary Club trying to get the dirt on me. My friends were very good, though. They kept it all quiet. But as you'll see, my preference to stay out of the spotlight was sort of satisfied by the picture chosen by the magazine. The star of this picture isn't me or even my incredible wife, Esther. It's the flock of 7 flamingos strutting past us. But I want you to look carefully at that photograph. And you'll see that all of them are heading in the same direction, except one. For me, that one flamingo is a perfect symbol of how we need to shift the paradigm in Rotary. Now, she knows where everyone else is going. And yes, I said she. But she also sees that maybe, just maybe, that isn't the right path. She's fighting the crowd, but she isn't afraid to go against the group to test another path. And if that path seems better for her friends, she'll call them over to join her. And maybe they'll find a better way together. What you don't see here is the video taken after the photograph. What happens is that all these flamingos realize there's a better way, and they turn and they join the one flamingo of change. So as district governors, or as I like to think, the governors of change, your job will be to inspire your clubs to find the models that work for your communities, for those who are not yet part of Rotary, and for current members. This is how you can make Rotary's future sustainable. We can act now to enhance the impact of our service. We can act now to build on everything that Rotary has worked so hard to achieve for 114 years. The good news is we know what we need to do. We know what we need to do for a sustainable future. It's our responsibility. It's our world in our hands. And all you have to do is be the inspiration, and you will ensure that Rotary connects the world. And you are so fortunate to have such a dedicated leader as President-elect Mark and Gay. I know you will succeed at making our organization the best in the world. And I want to be the first one to say thank you to each and every one of you, because in your hands is an opportunity that I know you're going to fulfill. You're going to make our world a better place to live. For those who don't know, don't expect, right now have no hope, you're there for them. You're going to make our world a better place. And for that, I thank you.